Right. Let us start by quickly going through the agenda for the day. I will do a quick introduction of myself and boundary systems, go through the topic for the day, and then we'll go through the demonstration of the tool in Windchill. And then right at the end, we will have the question and answer session. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please type it out in the questions section of the webinar poll, or webinar section or panel, and we will get to those questions at the end. My name is Ephraim Poyeng. I am a PLM specialist at Boundary Systems. We have over 6 years experience on PDC products, specifically Windchill products. I'm a certified Windchill implementer and trainer. About Boundary Systems, we regard ourselves as the technology leader with a couple of companies that we partner with, including PDC, SolidWorks, eDrive, Autodesk, and other technology companies. We are also a number 16 fastest growing company in the greater Cleveland area, and also part of PDSVision group of global companies. So if you look on the map here on the right, that is where all the PDSVision group companies are located. We offer capabilities in product lifecycle management, data management, CAD design and consulting. We also do simulations for our customers, and also help our customers in introducing their initial product development into the PLM tool. Just a bit more about Boundary. These are the list of companies that we partner with, PDC being the main partner. And we also partner with companies like eDrive, ITI, Keyshot, just to make sure that we bring or we deliver a comprehensive software solution for our customers that, in essence, addresses their issues. Right, so after the webinar, if you have any technical questions, you can email me directly at epoyeng@boundarysys.com. Any sales queries, sales@boundarysys.com. You can also visit our website for additional information, boundarysys.com. And we also have a YouTube channel called Boundary Systems. That is where this video is also going to be uploaded to. So you should be able to revisit this video tomorrow about this time if you just need to look at other things that you might have missed. Right, getting into the topic itself. So what is a business process in Windchill context? So a business workflow is basically a workflow that enables you to automate your company procedures, in which information, and this is any information, a task, a document, are being passed to several participants. So this procedure is based on the workflow process that would have well-defined steps that follow on each other, or some of the steps can run at the same time, depending on your obviously the business process and what sort of business goals you need to achieve. And every workflow process should have a start and end to it. So a very simple workflow that we will be looking at in Windchill. At the end of it, it will look something similar to this. So we basically have a start of our workflow. And at the very beginning of this workflow, we basically require you to submit a document. So you simply create a document and you submit that document. And once the document is submitted, it basically goes through the process where it's locked to under review so that no one can modify it during that phase. And we send out a notification over here. So the next person who needs to review this document, they receive a task to review the document through an email, and then based on their decision or based on the review, they can decide to send this document back to the initiator for rework. So they can basically add comments in there, send them back to the submitter or the initiator of this document, or they can decide to approve it. And when they approve this document, it goes and gets automatically released. And then we can also send a notification to the next person who will then need to print this document out and then file it in the document cabinet. And then that becomes the end of the process. And if the reviewer decides to reject this document, could be that the document is no longer valid. So it basically rejected, and then we set that document for obsolete, and so no one can use it. And then we basically release that document. So we will build this simple workflow, but we will start step by step and basically go through the process of building it. Right, so at this stage, I'll go into the demonstration. So I'm doing this in the Windchill system itself, Windchill PDM link. So the first thing that we need to do is to go in and create our workflow. So I've got a document here with about 3 or 4 pages that basically shows the steps that we will take in building and maturing our workflow. So as an initial step, we're gonna create a workflow with just these 3 tasks, and then test it to see if it works. It's actually automating these tasks and creating them. And this would be in this order. You have to submit that, create a document, and then you submit it, and it then goes to the reviewer, then finally get to the process where it gets printed and filed. So let's go ahead and start on this. So to do that, I can create this workflow from my organization utilities. There is a link here under business administration for workflow templates. So I'm going to open my workflow templates. And then in here, I'm going to start and create a new workflow. So as I said, our workflow would have a start, that is the start for it. And we need to create those 3 activities. And then lastly, our workflow should always have an end to it. Okay. So just the initial. And then what we then do is we can go in and then now link all these activities. This is how it would run from the beginning to the end. And I'm just gonna save to make sure I don't lose any changes there. And then once that's saved, I'm gonna go into this document now and start just modifying my tasks by just giving them names. Okay, I'm just gonna put it on the other side. So the first activity that we have is basically to submit a task. So I'm gonna give it a name. I can also provide a description for this. Other things in the activity that we can change. So if you go under activities here or activity here, I can also provide the instructions on here. So I can go and say create create a document, and once you create the document, complete the submit document task. So this will be the instructions that will show in the task when they receive it. And then under participants, you can actually go in here and say, once this is now created and running, this task should go to a specific participant. In this case, we're sending it to the creator, so whoever creates this document. But I can also, if I need to, I can also send it to a group of or a specific role. So if, for example, I add that role, author role, I can then go and say this is a required role, and I've got an option to say whoever basically just complete this task, it would have completed the whole submit document activity. Or I can say all the participants or all the people in this role should be able to complete the submit document in order for this task to be completed. Or I can also go and say, in this role, we only require a minimum of 2 users to be able to complete this task. So you've got those options that you can do there. So for the purpose of today's demo, we're just going to use the creator. The other thing that you can also do with an activity is I can go and set a deadline. So I can say, just send a user reminder a day or 2 before the deadline of this file. And I can also specify who or which role should be notified, and also when it should be notified. The other things that you can do is also in the role setup here. I can also create what you call a resource pool. So resource pool is where I can create they call it a context team. And in that context team, I can specify all the roles that my workflow should look from for the roles, and then use that team context as a sort of a main participants list that my workflow would look from. Okay, so for this one, because it's just a simple thing, we don't have any resource pool set. I didn't specify that, so I just need to go back and just specify the name for that. And as I've said, other activities you can put in the instructions. The next activity in here is the review document. So give it a name, instructions, review document, and complete review task. And the last one is basically print and file document. Save this. Yeah, those are just the 3 groups that or 3 activities or tasks that we have created. So at this stage, I'm gonna go and just rename or just give this a name. Demo workflow, and then check it in. Check it into Windchill. At this stage, we're not using this workflow. So I'm going to go and assign this workflow to a life cycle that we're going to be using for this particular document that we will be creating. So to do that, I'll go back to the business administrations, the lifecycle template administrator. I've already created a demo lifecycle in here, and I'm going to edit it and then link that workflow that we've created to it. So our workflow process has got these stages or states: is in work, under review, release, and obsolete. So at the beginning of my workflow, I'm going to go and link that. Sorry, in the beginning of the life cycle, I'm going to go and link that workflow that we've created, a demo workflow, and simply save this and check it in. Now that we've linked that, I can go ahead and create a test document. So I'm simply going into one of the Windchill products. And then in this folder, I'm going to go ahead and create a new document. A new document of type demo. So this demo document type uses that life cycle that we've just linked the workflow to. We're just creating a new document without the content, just a placeholder. And then This will be demo calc 1, give it a name, and then we complete the creation of this document. My document is created, so if I go to the details of this document, you will see there that it's using that workflow and that life cycle that we've just linked the workflow to. So now, as a creator, if I go back to the home page, you'll notice that I've got a task now that says submit document. So we've created it. Now we need to submit this document. If I go to this task and just open up the workflow process view of it, it shows us exactly where we are in our process. So it has started, it kicked off now, and it is now running this other task here. And I can see the task is highlighted in green to show that it is the one that's currently running. So we will go ahead and complete the task. Once the task is complete, we now receive the next task in the process that says review the document. So we can go in, look at the document that we've created, and once we're happy with everything, I can go back and now complete the task. And then I get the final tasks, a task that says print and file this document. Then I'll basically go into the document, print it out, and file it. And once that's done, I can simply just hit complete, and that whole process is now completed. I can go in and show you the document. It's not the document itself, but now I wanted to show you the process. So the process, you will notice that all the tasks or activities that we've created has been executed, and the end of our workflow is also being executed. So that is now the end of that workflow. Right, then the next thing we need to do, according to this document here, so we've done this bit, we've got our document working, our workflow working. Now we need to change it a bit so that it meets some of our business process. So what we're gonna be doing next is we wanna be able to, when we review this document, be able to disposition it properly. So if the document is not properly, there's not enough information into it, we can send it back for rework, and it goes back to this activity here, or we can reject it if we no longer need to use it, or we can simply approve it. Then once it's approved, it will then go over to the print and file document. So to be able to achieve this sort of disposition, we need to go back to our workflow again. We go to our demo workflow, modify it. And yeah, so what we want to achieve is from the design review, we want them to be able to disposition this or route it differently. So to do that, we need to add some routing information under the routing tab. And we've got a couple of options here. There's conditional. So conditional is normally based on a specific expression. So based on that expression or the code, it will then, based on the result that comes from the code, it will then route your workflow differently. And you also have a manual. So the manual gives you an option to select multiple routing events when you complete the task. And then there's another one that's called the manual exclusive, which allows you only to pick one from the list. So what we need to do is be able to pick one from the list. So we will either approve the task, send it back for rework, or basically just reject it and obsolete the file. So that's what we need to do. And once we've done that, so what we want to do is when we send it back for rework, it comes back to the submit document here. And to do that, we use one of the operators here. So these are the workflow operators. You've got an AND operator, you've got an OR operator, the conditional router, a threshold connector. So I'm gonna talk about these two here, the AND and the OR. So the AND, if you're using the AND operator, every link that comes into that operator has to be executed before that task could actually fire or kick in. Whereas with the OR operator, only one task needs to kick in for that to fire. So in this case, because we just wanting to just send this back here, we're going to use an OR operator so that our workflow looks neater and it makes sense. So I'll just put in an OR operator there, and then the other one here for reject. And then what we do is we just link the review back to OR, and from the OR operator back. So this is just like a detour to go back to the that first task activity. Same this side, we'll do that, and then we'll link it to the end. And then at this stage, you'll notice that because for every link that's coming from the review here, there is a question mark next to that link. So that simply means we can click on that and be able to just set a routing for it. So this is the rework. I will go in and just set the rework. So I'm going to fire the rework for this. But because the rework might happen a couple of times, what you should then do is enable a loop link here to allow that multiple rework to happen if you send it back multiple times. So I'm just going to tick that and click OK. You'll notice that the link sort of different in color to the others. It simply means it will allow multiple send back through that link. And this one is for approve. You just set it for approve. And the last one is for reject. Set that for reject. And then save our file, check it in. And now we can go and create another test document for this, just to see if it is working as expected. I'll go and create another document, demo document with no content. Demo.2 in this case. And that's now created. So if we go to the home page, we've got the submit there. So I can go in, and if we look at the process now, you'll notice that our process would have those routing options. And if I just go back to the task, complete my task, it now goes to the review. So the reviewer will now be able to disposition or route his document based on this. So they can simply go in and say, we're gonna reject this document, and then just complete it. And then because it's a reject, it's not gonna go through the print and file. It will just obsolete the document or just end the whole process. So if I go back and look at this, I can see by looking at that it went through the review, and then from there it went through the reject, and then the process was complete. Right, so that is how you would add the routing onto the activities. The next thing that we need to do, because we now know that our routing works fine, the next thing we need to do is to basically change this. So you'll notice if we go back to the document, if I go back to that document quickly, you'll notice that even with the whole process complete, our documents are still in that in-work state, in the beginning state. But now we want to make sure that at the end of the process, if the document was rejected, it will be in the obsolete state. If the document was approved, it will then be automatically released. So to do that, we will have to add the robots in between. So for an example, if it goes from submit to review, we can actually set a robot between here to set our document to under review state, so that it cannot be modified at that stage. Once it's released, once it's approved, we then set it to released. If it's rejected, we'll then set it to obsolete. Right, so to do that again, we'll need to go to our workflow process and modify it slightly. So this is the whole process. So I'm going to go and add additional things in between here. So to do that, to set states, I use what we call method robots. So I just put it down. So we're gonna have one here for under review, one there for released, and the other one there for obsolete. Okay, I'm getting an error. Just doing that, I'm just gonna reload the workflow again. Okay, I'm just gonna place the method robots again there. Just make sure I save the changes. So the method robots allows you to do a couple of things. So I can set it to automatically check in this file or check it out. And I can set it to promote this file to another state. But what we will be doing now is to set it to a set state of the item. So under review, and then here I can go and set the state to under review. And this one here, when I use it to set state to released, I'm going to change that state to released. And lastly, this one needs to be set to obsolete. Set that state to obsolete. Make sure I save my changes. And then what I can now do is simply link my robots to the process as well. Link that one to the whole process. I'm just going to move things around to make sure that everything is visible on the list here. Yeah, so from submit, our document will then be set under review, and if it's approved, it will then set to released. Go ahead and check my workflow in. And again, you can go back and create a test folder to see if our process is working as it should. Third demo document 3, and that's now created. So I can go ahead and submit this document or submit the document. But before I do that, I'm just going to open this document in another tab quickly. Just notice that this document is currently in work state. So if I go back and just complete this task, it should now set my document to under review. So I'm just going to refresh this page. You'll notice now the document is moved from in work to under review, because our process is now in the review state. And we want to make sure that we lock that document at that stage so that no one can access it. And if I quickly look at the review here and just the process itself, you'll notice that it's now executed and it's now in this task here. So I can then go and complete my task and be approving it at the stage, which then means our document should now automatically go from under review to released. So then once that's released, it is now sent to the last process, which would be the print and file the document. So I'm simply going to complete this. So that I complete the whole process. Our document is now finally in the released. So this helps you with those robots. It helps you to automatically set those dates. So you don't have to go in and manually set them once you have approved a process. or a document. So that is the third thing. So now that you've got this going, it could be that you realize that some of the reviewers or whoever that needs to print and file this into the cabinet, they miss these tasks because the only time they'll be able to see this task is to come into Windchill, log into Windchill and go to Windchill tasks, my task table. This is the only way they're able to see that. And they sometimes, because they don't access Windchill frequently, they sometimes miss this activity that they need to complete. So the one way to address that is by making sure that we add notifications, email notifications to the process. So that if there's a task that they need to work on, they will then get an email to say you need to look at this. And if they have forgotten to look at it, if your workflow is set in such a way that it will send them reminders or deadline reminders, they'll also receive another notification to say there's this task that you need to complete. So to do that, we have to go and add the email notifications just before the task itself. So we're going to put one there for the reviewer and the one just before the print and file, so that the whoever needs to print and file would also receive a notification. So I'll go back to the workflow again just to add those. Modify it. And I'm just going to move things here to create space. So what we add now is the notification by email that we can add here, and then we can always give it a name. Just gonna say notification to review, and then on the recipients here, I can then specify who will receive this email. So once the user needs to have an email set up when they create the user to be able to receive these emails. So I'm going to use the administrator account that I've been using to receive this email. And then in the message, I can then just type out the subject, review the document. And then this is the body of the email. So in the body of the email, I can then add any other information, review document number. In here, I can add a variable, which is a primary business object. So this will just give you a link to the actual file. The other thing that I can do is on here, I can also set it to send an attachments with this notification. So I can send an attachment to send a primary document if it exists, or a secondary, or any attribute information that I would want to send with this. So we don't have to do this now because we're just creating the documents with no content, but this allows you to do that. And that primary file, a PDF or a document, will come through as an attachment in the email. So created that. So just want to save that. And I'm going to copy this and just create another notification for print. For print, it's the same recipient, and then on here, you can just rename the subject, print and file. Bring the document, and then we link the notification also to the workflow process. linked it to the back for rework. Right, so the integration has been linked to the whole process. Now I can go save this and then check it in. Now we can finally go and test the notification. We'll create a new document called demo document again, just with no content. Demo document 4. Submit this. We created it. Now we'll go in and just complete the initial activity. So at this stage, I should receive an email that says I should review a document. And if I also go to that document, the last document, just to look at that workflow process, I can now see where it is in the process. And I've also received an email now. Just quickly show you the mail that I've received. This is the email review document, and then this is just the link to this document. I can quickly just click on this, and this will take me directly to Windchill to be able to view that document. Same applies. So if I go in and complete this task, so from this process manager, I can also simply using the ribbon at the top here, I can simply complete certain tasks. So I can just click on complete task, and it gives me different routing options. I want to approve this. Okay. Then if I refresh this, it shows me that it's now over there. The notification has been executed. So I should get a second email to notify me to print this document. And once that's done, I can then complete this activity. So that is the second email that I've received to print and document this in a cabinet. Right, so that is all I wanted to show you as far as the workflow for beginners is concerned. I mean, this is something fairly easy that you can set up in your environment. And with these building blocks, it makes it very easy to eventually get to the point where you have built a very complex a workflow. So this is how you normally begin. The other way of just beginning to create a workflow, or the other easy way of doing it, is to just build from an existing workflows. So there's a whole list of out-of-the-box workflows that you have here. So if you want to use the change process, but want to have your own sort of custom change process, you can basically save this as a new copy of a workflow and then use that to build your own custom workflow. So it makes it easy to do that. And the other thing is some of these workflows here, or these workflows are a bit complex workflows, but you can simply, if I just open it up to show you, but you can simply go in and remove some of the things that you don't need. But the workflow that I've just shown you now, the ones that we've been doing up to now, it can eventually get to this sort of complexity. And the other advantage of Windchill workflows is that you can also build like simple or small workflows and then use like a main workflow to just reuse all the other workflows that you've created to build this one massive workflow. Yeah, so with that one, you can simply easily get to this sort of complexity with that. That's all I wanted to show you. Just gonna go through and look at the questions to see if there's any questions up now. Okay, I see there's no questions. But as I've said, if you have any questions after today's webinar, feel free to email me directly for any technical questions at ipoyeng@boundary66.com. Or if you need like a sales demo on workflows, sales@boundary66.com. And you can also visit our website and also our YouTube channel. So if you need to go back and rewatch this webinar tomorrow, you can do that under our YouTube channel, Boundary Systems. And yes, if you have any questions after that, feel free to reach out to me. With that said, I would like to thank everyone who's joined the webinar and stayed till the end of the webinar. And thank you so much and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.